Welcome to Lesson 25.2, Animal Body Plans and Evolution. In this lesson, we'll identify some features of animal body plans, and we'll explain the difference among the animal phyla. Each animal phylum has a unique organization of particular body structures that is often referred to as a body plan. As the first cells of most animals develop, they differentiate into specialized cells that are organized into tissues. A tissue is a group of cells that perform a similar function. Animals typically have four types of tissues: epithelial, muscle, connective, and nervous tissue. Epithelial tissues cover body surfaces, inside and out. The epithelial cells that line lung surfaces, for example, have thin, flat structures through which gases can diffuse easily. Tissues combine during growth and development to form organs. Organs work together to make up organ systems that carry out complex functions. The human digestive system, for example, includes tissues and organs such as the lips, mouth, stomach, intestines, and anus. The bodies of most animals exhibit some type of symmetry. The two diagrams show radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. Some animals, such as the sea anemone shown on the left, have body parts that extend outward from the center, like the spokes of a bicycle wheel. These animals exhibit radial symmetry, in which any number of imaginary planes drawn through the center of the body would divide it into equal halves. The most successful animal groups exhibit bilateral symmetry, in which a single imaginary plane divides the body into a left and right sides that are mirror images of each other. Animals with bilateral symmetry have a definite front or anterior end and a back or posterior end. Bilateral symmetrical animals also have an upper or dorsal side and a lower or ventral side. This diagram shows cross-section representations of three groups of animals, from left to right: flatworms, roundworms, and earthworms. During embryological development, the cells of most animal embryos differentiate into three layers called germ layers. Cells of the endoderm or innermost germ layer develop into the linings of the digestive tract and much of the respiratory system. Cells of the mesoderm or middle layer give rise to muscles and much of the circulatory, reproductive, and excretory systems. The ectoderm or outermost layer produces sense organs, nerves, and the outer layer of the skin. Most animals have some kind of body cavity, a fluid-filled space between the digestive tract and body wall. A body cavity provides a space in which internal organs can be suspended and room for those organs to grow. For example, your stomach and other digestive organs are suspended in your body cavity. Most complex animal phyla have a true coelom or body cavity that develops within the mesoderm and is completely lined with tissues derived from the mesoderm. Some invertebrates have only a primitive jelly-like layer between the ectoderm and endoderm. Other invertebrates lack a body cavity altogether and are called acoelomates. Still other invertebrate groups have a pseudocoelom, which is only partially lined with mesoderm. An acoelomate has no cavity between the body wall and digestive cavity. A pseudocoelomate has a cavity partially lined with tissue from the mesoderm. A coelomate has a body cavity completely lined with tissue from the mesoderm. Every animal that reproduces sexually begins life as a zygote, or fertilized egg. As the zygote begins to develop, it forms a blastula, a hollow ball of cells like an inflated balloon. As the blastula develops, it folds in on itself as if you were holding the balloon and pushing your thumbs towards the center. The folding changes a ball of cells into an elongated structure with a tube that runs from one end to other. This tube becomes the digestive tract. At first, this digestive tract has only a single opening to the outside, called a blastospore. An efficient digestive tract, however, needs two openings: a mouth through which food enters and an anus through which wastes leave. In phyla that are protostomes, the blastopore becomes the mouth. In protostomes, including most invertebrates, the anus develops at the opposite end of the tube. In phyla that are deuterostomes, the blastopore becomes the anus and the mouth is formed from the second opening that develops. Chordates and echinoderms are deuterostomes. This similarity in development is one of several characteristics that indicate that echinoderms are closely related to chordates. As many bilaterally symmetrical animals develop, their bodies become divided into numerous repeated parts or segments. These animals are said to have exhibited segmentation. Segmented animals such as worms, insects, and vertebrates typically have at least some internal and external body parts that repeat on each side of the body. Bilateral symmetry and segmentation are found together in many of the most successful animal groups. Segmentation has been important in animal evolution because of the way genes control the production and growth of body segments. In segmented animals, simple mutations can cause changes in the number of and form of body segments. Different segments can evolve specializations that perform different functions. Functions such as information gathering, feeding, or movement. Animals with bilateral symmetry typically exhibit cephalization, the concentration of sense organs and nerve cells at their anterior end. This anterior end is often different enough from the rest of the body that it is called a head. The most successful animal groups, including arthropods and vertebrates, exhibit pronounced cephalization. Scientists have closely examined insect and vertebrate embryos and found that their heads are formed by the fusion and specialization of several body segments during development. As those segments fuse, their internal and external parts combine in ways that concentrate sense organs, such as eyes, in the head. Nerve cells that process information and decide what the animal should do also become concentrated in the head. Animals with heads usually move in a head-first direction. This is so the concentration of sense organs and nerve cells come in contact with new parts of the environment first. Segmented, bilaterally symmetrical animals typically have external appendages on both sides of the body. These appendages may vary from simple groups of bristles in some birds to jointed legs in spiders, wings in dragonflies, and a wide range of limbs, including bird wings, dolphin flippers, and monkey arms. These very different kinds of appendages have evolved several times and have been lost several times in various animal groups. This slide summarizes body plan features of the major groups or phyla of animals. Use this chart to compare and contrast the major animal groups, looking at levels of organization, body symmetry, germ layers, presence or absence of a body cavity, embryological development, segmentation, and cephalization. Sponges, for example, have specialized cells, but no tissues, organs, or organ systems. Body symmetry is absent, and they don't produce germ layers. They have no body cavity, and they lack segmentation and cephalization. This table shows additional animal groups. They can also be compared for levels of organization, symmetry, germ layers and body cavity, embryological development, segmentation, and cephalization. The features of animal body plans provide scientists with information for building the cladogram or phylogenetic tree of animals. A cladogram is a branching hierarchical classification system that presents hypotheses based on shared similarities and differences in living species, similar evidence from the fossil record, and comparative genomic studies. The cladogram shown here presents scientists' current understanding of relationships among animal phyla. Animal phyla are typically defined according to adult body plans and patterns of embryological development. For example, the body plan of the phylum Arthropoda includes bilateral symmetry, segmentation, cephalization, an external skeleton, and jointed legs. Every phylum has a unique combination of ancient traits inherited from its ancestors and new traits found only in that particular phylum. Although it may be tempting to think of the cladogram as a story about improvements from one phylum to the next over time, That is not always the case. The complicated body systems of vertebrates are not necessarily better than the simpler systems of invertebrates. Any body system found in living animals functions well enough to enable those animals to survive and reproduce. Within each phylum, different groups represent different variations on the basic body plan themes that have evolved over time. Land vertebrates, for example, typically have 4 limbs. Many, such as frogs, walk or hop on 4 limbs that we call legs. Among birds, the front limbs have evolved into wings. In many primates, the front limbs have evolved into what we call arms. Both wings and arms evolved through changes in the standard vertebrate forelimb. In a sense, you can think of each phylum's body plan as an evolutionary experiment in which a particular set of body structures performs essential functions. An organism's first appearance represents the beginning of this experiment. The very first versions of most major animal body plans were established hundreds of millions of years ago. Ever since that time, each phylum's evolutionary history has shown variations in body plans as species have adapted to changing conditions. If the changes have enabled members of a phylum to survive and reproduce, the phylum still exists. If the body plan hasn't functioned well enough over time, members of the phylum, or particular groups within the phylum, have become extinct.